Hi there, my name is Variant and today we're going to take a look at one of my friend's animations and giving them some tips and tricks to help them improve their animation. Before we begin, I just want to say that there isn't really a wrong way to do animation. Art is subjective, and the tips and tricks I'm giving are just what I've learned personally as a college student studying 2D animation and just from personal experience. I want to start by just showing the actual animation, and right away I was able to tell that there were a few stutter frames, which basically means frames that felt out of place and didn't transfer and fit as smoothly as you would have hoped. With that in mind, I went in, I wrote down all the different frame numbers so I could reference that later and realized that they were animating on a different set of 5, 3s, and 4s. If you don't know what that means, no need to worry. It basically just means how many times a drawing is shown, how many frames it's held for. For example, this drawing was held for 4 frames. The one after that was held for 3 frames. The next one after that was held for another 3 frames. Ideally, when you're animating in 24 frames per second, which is kind of the studio standard, you're wanting to animate on either 2s or 3s, and in some occasions, 1s. The next thing I noticed was the lack of arcs in their animation. If you didn't know, nobody moves in one straight line, and even though that's the quickest way to get to the point, you're going to be wanting to work in curves mostly, or arcs. Another thing I noticed was there was a lot of stopping and going, when generally things in motion stay in motion until acted on by an opposite force. So when Mary was going for the wind-up for the kick, I had him continue to move over to the side, as well as for the follow-through, continue to slightly turn and move downwards. At the end, I did some of the same things, except I also added a bit of fall back to Mary's action. Realistically, when we are falling backwards, we're not able to keep the same posture completely. We're going to move backwards a bit before finally settling forward, so I added that in the animation. For the rest of it was just adding a few extra frames to make it look more smooth, and adding notes so you could better understand what I was saying from a visual level. So we'll look at that next. I'll have the animation play really slow here so you can see all the little notes I made on the first actual animation, just for me to keep in mind when I go back through and make my edits. For my edits, I didn't change anything about the beginning other than make sure it was moving consistently on 3s rather than 4s, then 3s. Next, you can see on screen an example of an arc I mapped out as to where Mary would be going throughout the movement. I marked it out with the 3 frames or drawings that I had in mind to get to frame 17. Once we reach frame 17, you can see this little arrow with the word intent written next to it, although poorly written. This basically means the audience can see the motion that is about to happen. Next, we see the wind-up, which basically gives the audience an extra frame to recognize the situation and see what's going to happen. I also drew another arc showing how and what type of ease out we would be doing for the next frames. The following frame has an extreme smear, so we can tell exactly what path the foot took to make contact. As we're reaching the final bit, you can see another arc that shows our character is going to be going down, then back up as it settles into a landing pose. Once fully landed, we have the character move forward again slightly to settle the animation and just overall bring a nice and smooth end to it. So now we see the final animation from the corrections that I made in motion. And as you can see, it feels a lot more fluid and smooth than the original, and I'll compare these side by side for you now. Obviously, my animation is a bit longer and obviously in a different style, but you can see the difference between the two and how just a little bit of extra frames and small adjustments can really improve an animation, from good to amazing. I want to say thank you to Demo for allowing me to use their animation, and overall just being a really nice person in general. The animation was submitted through my Discord server, so if you're interested in that, there is a link in the description or in my bio for YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe, and have a great day. And if you want to see more content like this, let me know in the comments. Alright, Varian out.